Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Brainless Believers podcast. I am Adam, and we've got the wolf over on the other side, and we've got a real nice little cinematic camera. It's been a while, hasn't it?
It sure has. I think the last episode was last summer, around August time maybe.
I've got some incense burning as well, so you know we're feeling all kinds of tempting fate, because today we're going to be discussing one of the most controversial games, toys. How would you describe it?
Well, a lot of people describe it as a toy, don't they? I wouldn't describe it as such. I mean, it is sold by Hasbro mainly, isn't it? Which is a toy like manufacturing company or whatever. But I don't know. What about you? Like, I don't really consider it a toy. Like, it's not really for children to play with. Like, you always go on.
I think for me, it's like, I think it might have began off with that, but now it's kind of turned into a bit of what's it called? Like, for me, there's more of a story around it than the actual product itself.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? There's more kind of mysticism about it than actually, you know, kind of the idea of what it is. So, of course, we are, just in case you're wondering, we are talking about the Ouija board, or Ouija, as it's officially pronounced, the wonderful talking board. So we're just gonna start off talking about the origins of it, where it kind of came from, and then we're gonna look at. I've got a website up here, 8 scary, true, creepy stories with Ouija boards, and again, I haven't read them because I want them to be a surprise for me as well as Tommy. So they might be rubbish, they might be good, who knows? But yeah, this is going to be probably the best part of an hour. So grab a little snack or a little cup of tea, whatever you want to, or a monster like what I'm having right now, and relax.
ASMR for you.
Or if you're a psycho, if you're a psycho like me and Toby, you know, pull this up on your phone or whatever and try and fall asleep to it.
That's the best way to do it, though, isn't it? Really.
It really sets your mind off for these nightmares, right? So, here we go. In February 1891, advertisements began circulating in North America for Ouija, the wonderful talking board. It promised to answer questions about the past, present, and future by providing a link between the known and the unknown. By the late 19th century, the Ouija board emerged as one of the most famous items associated with the paranormal. Feared by some, mocked by others, the Ouija board has a fascinating history and is still used and celebrated by its cult following today. So spiritualism has been popular in Europe for years when the trend spread to North America in the mid-19th century. Far from being widely feared, spiritualist practices were regarded as dark parlor games, with advocates including President Lincoln's wife, Mary, who held stay on the White House after their 11-year-old son died of a fever in 1862. And this is me just interrupting that. There's a very famous picture when President Lincoln was shot dead. So his wife, Mary, was very big on seances, very big on Ouija boards and stuff like that. And she told people that she felt the presence of good old Abe. And there's a picture that was said to have been taken, and there's kind of an apparition behind her, and it looks to be Abraham Lincoln. Maybe if you edit that picture to go in at some point, I don't know. I'm making more work for you there. But,
you are,
to me,
but
it
I'll
looks
find it.
like rubbish. It looks like rubbish, but you know, and probably not true at all. But you know, there you go. So, after the American Civil War, a lot of people kind of died, Tommy, in a thing
Really?
called the American Civil War.
Holy shit, I would have
And,
never guessed.
It created a whole generation of people who wanted to be in contact with their lost friends and relatives. And that's when the Ouija board really took advantage and became popular. Now, until that point, there was automatic writing when people would kind of put themselves in a meditative state and then try and write and all these kind of things. But, you know, there was a lot of kind of downside to that. A lot of people didn't think it was true. So people then turned to the Ouija board, as that was meant to bring a connection to loved ones. To use a Ouija board, a group of people would gather around a table with a board upon it, and each person would place their fingers on the planchette. They would then ask questions to the spirit, and the planchette would move to the letters or the numbers to formulate a response. And it's remained the same today, because if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah.
So, by 1892, the company that was making these was selling some 2,000 Ouija boards a week. And things grew more popular and more popular after World War I, the Jazz Age, Prohibition, followed by the Great Depression, and then, of course, World War II. And up until that point, there was negative feelings to a certain extent, but all changed in 1973, when The Exorcist was released.
Great film, by the way.
And as a result, I don't actually think I've seen it.
Have you not? Oh,
I don't think so, no.
next time you come here, we'll stay up late and we'll watch it.
I've seen like the piss takes of it, like the scary version of it.
Where her head spins around and she's just like...
Yeah.
So
Exorcist...
Sorry,
Such a good... It's like there's some iconic lines in it.
Yeah.
Like the theme tune of it stick with me, even though I haven't heard of it. So kind of quite a lot like most things nowadays. Entertainment and media influence the way people are seen. Obviously, there were a lot of negative kind of feelings around it. Religious groups, even though they originally liked the idea of it, soon turned sour on the subject and thought that it was, basically that you shouldn't be trying to contact the dead if they're dead, and leave them to rest in peace. Don't try and contact them. And obviously, now we associate Ouija boards as not something to contact living people. Dead people, sorry. We see it as a way for demons to enter your house.
Yeah, exactly. It's even better.
Oh, Christ.
We're doing that as well when you come. We'll stream it.
Are we now? We'll stream it, okay. Yeah. Now, again, just in case you're new here, Tommy is a believer and I'm a skeptic. Not necessarily on Ouija boards as such, but I'm just a skeptic to everything like that. Whereas Tommy claims that he has seen things and all these blah, 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 blah.
I'm a believer, but I'm one of, like, whenever we tell stories and stuff that people have actually wrote themselves about their experiences, I'm one of the biggest, I don't know, critics, I guess you would say. Like, I look at, you read these stories and I'm like, that's bollocks. They're lying through the teeth there. That never fucking happened. It's like, yeah. I'm a massive believer, but I just don't believe people.
Well, let's see if we believe some of these people then. So this one is, and I've got, I think I might have told it before, I've got a personal story with Ouija boards. That didn't happen to me, but it's, my mum told me a story and it kind of haunts me to this day. And I don't know whether I've told you on a Brainless Believers. If we have time, I will go into it. So, story number 1. I can see you through the window. I was about 12 or 13, spending the night at a friend's house, goofing around with the Ouija board, with him and his sister. We were getting all sort of gibberish plus words spelled out, just kinds of scaring ourselves for fun and not taking it very seriously. Then we got the message. I can see you through the window. And then I can see you through his eyes. There was a small window in the basement room where we were, and just a backyard and woods past the driveway visible through that window. We asked it more questions, and it said, I'm under the car. We somehow built the nerve up to go out with a flashlight and peer under the car. And we saw a huge black cat under the car, hissing. It stared at us, and we freaked out and ran inside. And at that exact moment, the power failed and all the lights went off in the house. We literally shit ourselves. 5 minutes later, the power came back on, and we sat up until daylight, and we never played with the board again.
Is that it?
No. I mean that one is somewhat believable, right?
Sure. Yeah, I guess.
But I look at that and go, well, it could have just been a coincidence. Like, cats go under cars.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. The way it was written and everything, I don't know, it just seemed like more of a story than an actual experience, I would say.
What do you think? It raises an interesting point, though. What do you think a demon looks like?
Ooh, anything. I reckon demons could appear human if they wanted to. But then it's like we were talking earlier today, weren't we? Just about random stuff. And I find it to be a distinct lack of imagination when people say like these demons look like an amalgamation of different animals. It's like, why would they? Why are they not these grotesque, hideous, like, blobs or bubbling fucking creatures? Why is it something you instantly recognise? You know, in all the stories where it's like, oh, it has the, like a wolf's head.
Head of a lizard.
Yeah, shit like that. And it's like, why? To me, that comes across as a story. It's a figment of your imagination. It's something that you've imagined. It's something that you've conjured in your mind, because those are things you know exist. So you can put them together. And I don't know about you, but I feel like if demons do exist, which I believe they do, why the fuck would they look like animals? I really do feel like they would just be like, I don't know, like I say, a mess, like blobs of pus and bubbling skin and weird, like, it's, yeah, hard to explain because obviously, yeah, but
I guess, like, to defend that, it's weird because I always see, like, this is the way that we do these podcasts. Like, you try and debunk it even though I'm the skeptic and I'm trying to play devil's advocate. But I guess, like, if you came to me and went, Adam, I saw a demon, and I said, okay, what did it look like? You would try and explain it in a way that you could understand that we know.
Yeah, but
do you know what I mean? But like, so like even then, it was like bubbling pus with like scales and stuff. Like even that is something we know, you know. But I get what you mean. Like, why would it be like, I'm gonna have a lizard's tongue, a wolf's head, you know, the body of a hippo?
I would think one of the best sort of images I can think of that would best represent a demon, in my opinion, would be, think of like the creatures from Elden Ring. The way some of them are designed, so they don't look like animals, they are just their own creation, you know what I mean? That's what I would envision a demon to look like. I feel like we're getting a bit off topic on just what demons look like, but I don't know. I don't feel like they would ever look like an animal or multiple animals, or because surely they would want to scare you.
Well, I mean that's the thing. Would they want to scare you?
Well, you never know. They could be, they could look like My Little Pony.
I mean, they could do. I mean, surely if what's the famous quote? The best thing a demon's ever done is convince you it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe the whole idea of a demon and devil is that the person has to let them in, right?
Yeah, and I suppose Sorry, go on.
You're not going to do that if there's some bubbling awful thing. That will come later on.
Yeah. No,
originally it might just be some beautiful, lovely.
Because it's in a lot of stories, isn't it, where it's like they appear as a loved one. So I suppose that makes sense. Like a loved one that's passed, and they're trying to tempt you and trying to coerce you into coming with them and approaching them and things like that. I get that. Are you alright there?
Yeah, my character was just going for a little walk. Anyway, story 2. So my 2 best friends, I'll call them M and L for the story, and I played a Ouija board at M's house. It was going fine until M asked the spirit how it had died. It said, murder. She asked how it had been murdered, and it said, not I. It gave its name as something older that I can no longer remember, and it gave us a date in the 1800s. It started to get heavy. The whole room began to feel different, and the little thing on the board was ripped out of our hand and went across the room. We stopped playing immediately after that. A week later, M's mum died of cancer. Everyone thought this is probably a coincidence, but L's mum was then later hospitalised for a serious drinking problem, and mine had an emergency hysterectomy the same week. I've since then experienced things that I don't think I would have without those experiences. Voices, dark shadows, sleep paralysis, footsteps. I wonder if I'm haunted, or whether it's something in my head. It's been 9 years. You think of that one?
I struggle with ones like that because I feel like she said she didn't remember the name, and I feel like details are important. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if it's had that much of an impact on your life, you would remember the smaller details, like a name.
Yeah.
So things like that strike me as odd. Yeah. Like, and I don't know. Like, I feel like as well, even if nothing happened after the fact, if you made contact with something that was speaking to you on a Ouija board, that in itself is an experience. And I feel like I wouldn't forget the name because it'd be like, holy shit, this spirit is actually speaking to me. This isn't me and my friends moving the planchette. This is something communicating. Why would you forget the details?
Yeah. Well, it's like when we met up and then late one night you tried to show me we was walking near the school that was up near your house, and you tried to show me a video of these people doing a Ouija board contacting Zozo.
Yeah.
And I remember. You what?
Is it the one where I couldn't find it again?
Yeah, but, well, no, you did find it in the end.
All right.
But I told you to stop playing it like 20 seconds in because it was like, I think you found one of them and it was blurry footage. But even though you only told me the name once and I've never heard of the name, and this was the rare instance I actually walked home on my own, and you didn't walk me to my house. But that name stuck with me because I was terrified walking home, like, and I started like, because there's a woods near where I live and stuff like this. So like, if that can stick with me, imagine what a name would do if you're doing a Ouija board.
Yeah, exactly.
So I do think you'd remember it.
Mm.
But I do feel like this is the good time to, because it's very similar to that. And I've probably told you this story, but I don't know if I've told you on Brainless Believers. But so my mum doesn't believe, or she didn't believe before she became a nurse. She didn't believe in ghosts and ghouls and all this stuff. Since becoming a nurse, her mind has changed and she's a lot more open to it. But they used to all, when she was young, when she was like our age, they all, she had a group of friends, and they'd go to nightclubs and go clubbing and everything like this. And there was one guy who was kind of, I won't say socially awkward, but he was a little bit more mysterious, a little bit quieter. Wouldn't always go out, wouldn't be the usual one to go out. Maybe once every 4 or 5 times he would go out. And but really got on with my mum. My mum, really got on with him. And like, she tells me the story, and she said that like sometimes her friends would go, "Why are you friends with him? He's a bit odd. Like, he's a funny guy, but he's a bit odd." And she was like, "Oh, no, he's nice." Can you imagine? So they're going out and everything, and this guy hasn't been out, and they're like, "Oh, we'll give him a ring." They gave him a ring, and he picked up the phone, house phone. This was back in the day, bloody hell, and he was like, "Oh, I'm doing something, but you can all come over to mine." And it was really weird because he was quite a socially like anxious person. It was the first time ever he'd been invited. The last thing they would think of him doing was inviting a party to go to his house. And there was like, "Oh, we don't really want to, but do you want to come out?" And he was like, "Oh no, blah 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 blah." He's doing a Ouija board. So there was like, and people started laughing and joking and whatever. And more and more after that, he would completely avoid them. They would try and ring him, he wouldn't pick up the phone and stuff like that. And then one time, about 2 o'clock in the morning, something along those lines, my mum was still living at my nana and granddad's house, and there's loads of banging on the front door. So my granddad goes to answer it, and my nana's there alongside him. They open the door, and this guy, I don't know what his name is, but this guy is like crying, and he's going, I'm just going to call her Jay because I don't really want to say my mum's name. Is Jay there? Is Jay there? And they're all going, "What? Whoa, what's going on?" And we'll call him Matt just for the sake of it. Like, "What's going on, Matt? What's going on?" And he's crying, and he's like, I'm being followed. And my granddad was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" Like, and like he stood out, and looked round the corner. There was no one around the corner. The house was at the end of the street, so you can basically see up the street, and there was no one there. And he's like, no, there's someone like following me. He's been following me. I walked around in the town, and he was following me. I've come back here. He's been following me. So my granddad like assumed he'd been drinking or was on drugs or something, and he was like, "Can I come in? Can I come in? Where's Jay?" So my mum came to the door and was like, "What's going on, Matt? What's going on?" And like, again, he would never like break down. He kept his emotions in all the time. So like, to see him crying was quite a big thing. He was like quite like I said earlier, mysterious and secretive about this kind of stuff. And he was like, "Oh, can I come in? Please, I need to come in. I'm terrified." So my granddad was like, "All right, well, basically come inside and we'll sort you out with a cup of tea." And my nana, being my nana, was like, "No, not a chance. You're not coming in. No, fuck that." And my mum and my granddad were going, "Oh, what you talking about?" And my nana was going, "No, he's not coming in. He's on drugs or something." And then he went to the end of the drive and was like begging, like on his hands and knees begging, and took his jacket off. And he didn't have anything on under his jacket, so he just had, he was like, he didn't have a t-shirt on or a vest or anything. But he got crucifixes that he'd like. Do you know when you scratch something so much that you get blood blisters, like little red dots? And there was like crucifixes. And Mum, like, they all started freaking out, so they called the police. I was like, whoa, and he was like, my mum tells it better than me, because, and like the way she describes it and stuff, and she won't bullshit about this kind of stuff. And the police came around and everything, and then a week later he died in his sleep. And they said that he died of so when you've got asthma, your lungs, one of the things about your lungs is that sometimes they can not collapse, but they can get like full of pressure, and that can cause you to die when you get like a lack of oxygen in your lungs. And it's, and the way people talk about it is if it feels like you imagine someone sat on you and you're struggling for breath or you've been winded, but it's like that. And they said, oh, he died of like an asthma attack like that. And my mum and all of her friends were going, but he'd never had asthma. Like, what? He'd never had an asthma pump. He'd never done anything like that. It's like, what? What do you mean? Yeah, and he died, and within a year of him starting playing with a Ouija board, he was dead. And my mum, honestly, like, she don't believe in, like I said, before she became a nurse, she didn't really believe in stuff. And she wouldn't lie. And I tried to call her out on it, because at first, I thought it was just a thing of, she doesn't want me playing with a Ouija board. So she's just created this awful story. And then I went, when I was at my nana's, and I said, oh, do you remember a guy? There was a guy that played with a Ouija board or something. And my nana, even when my mum wasn't there, my nana told basically the exact same story. Creepy, huh?
Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't you, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds bullshit.
So, yeah. But, it is what it is. Yeah. Anyway, next story. Our good friend Richard. I was over at a friend's house back in the early 90s. I believe I was in 9th grade at the time. There were 4 of us, myself and 3 of the girls. They kept asking me if I wanted to play with the Ouija board because they'd been talking to some dude on it named Roger. I was totally sceptical at first. I wasn't buying it. Totally thought they were moving the planchette. Until I asked the board a question that only I knew. We'd just got our grades from school back that day, and I asked what I got in science. And I remember this clearly, and I know my friends did not know the answer. The board spelled out my grade. Of course, that piqued my interest, but I was still sceptical. Anyone could have guessed it. So I started asking it more questions. I can't really recall much of the details of the night. We'd had a few drinks. But I know that the board kept on calling one of my friends a bitch. It hated her. But it seemed to like me. His name was Roger, and he was stabbed to death. At one point, I was the only one controlling the board and asking questions. And it worked. The freakiest thing that's ever happened to me. I'm not super spiritual, and I've never seen anything else paranormal related in my life. I've tried to use the Ouija board multiple times since then. Nothing's ever worked. All I know was that something supernatural was controlling the board without a doubt that night. What do you think about that one?
I liked the fact that she at least said, I don't remember some of the details because we were drunk. That adds a little bit of believability to it, because if you're drunk, you might forget a few things.
And also I've tried the Ouija board plenty of times after and nothing's happened.
Yeah. And I think I was going to call her out for the grades thing, but then she mentioned it herself, where she was like, they could have just guessed. Like, That's easy enough to do. You like if you're close enough to your friends, you know like how good they are at a subject. That's piss easy. I could have guessed that you were going to get used, and I'd have been making sure.
I could have guessed you'd have dropped out. Do you think then? So this what is interesting so far is that none of them are claiming to be like demons around. So real people. What's the likelihood then if Ouija boards work? What in your expert analysis? What do you think is the likelihood? Because again, negative connotations around the Ouija board. Do you think it's possible to bump into nice people on it?
No, I don't. But at the same time, I think I don't know. I think you've got to a certain degree and a certain extent. It's a lot of manifesting. So I think if you're like, it's one of them things, like when you're told don't think about a certain thing, you end up thinking about it.
Yeah.
If you're playing with a Ouija board, you're going to be thinking demon, 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 demon.
Yeah. Don't contact it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to end up manifesting it in some degree. Now, I think it depends completely on your, believability in the, like, occult and the paranormal, that sort of thing. And, like, how serious you're taking it. And whether you're just doing it as a joke or you're actually sat there properly in a darkened room with a few candles lit. Like, that sort of thing. I think that all sort of plays into it, if you will. Because, like I said, if you're just treating it as a joke, I don't think you're going to get anywhere. But if you are thinking about those things and you are thinking about demons, then you are going to end up manifesting it and potentially contacting something. And I think you've got your lower end ones that'll just call people bitches. And then you've got the higher end ones. But I've always looked at it as, like, I don't know, like, the higher end demons, so like your Zozos and things like that, surely they've got to have a good reason to want to play with you. Like, I can't imagine a demon just sat twiddling its thumbs and going, oh, Shanique was playing with a Ouija board. Oh, come on, man. You fucking bitch, I'll get you, Yo-Yo.
Yeah. It is, yeah. And that's why, like, one of the reasons why I'm really skeptical, because I'm thinking, like, these are meant to be, like, really powerful things that can, can literally go into humans' bodies and possess them.
Yeah.
And yet, they're multidimensional, they cross boundaries and everything like this. They know every language under the sun and everything, blah, 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 blah. And yet, the only way of properly contacting us is through a board, a Hasbro board.
And not even just a Hasbro board. Because you hear stories all the time of, oh, I couldn't afford a board, or I lost my board, so I printed one out off the internet. What, and that worked? Like, fuck off. A piece of paper. Like, it's... That's what I mean, like, I believe in this sort of stuff, but my believability only stretches so far.
Yeah.
I just think it is silly to think you can contact stuff through a fucking piece of paper.
So the next one is the case of the vanishing body. When you're hanging out in a friend's dorm room and busted out the Ouija board, there were a few of us who had used them before and a few who hadn't, and they were quite sceptical. It was about 11 o'clock and the communication with the board was going quite well. Gary, one of the skeptics, kept calling bullshit to the whole thing. We convinced him to sit on the floor with us and give it a shot. He first questioned, is this for real or is it just a bunch of bullshit? The planchette zipped to no. Fine, he says. Still not believing. Prove it. No sooner had he finished that statement when the lights in the room flickered and the building's fire alarm went off. This freaked all out, and we left the room to follow the fire alarm procedures.
Oh, you didn't say goodbye. Oh.
After about 20 minutes, the campus safety said it was a false alarm, and that was an accidental trigger, and let us all back into the dorms. When we arrived back up, the Ouija board was gone. No one took it with us, and the room was left locked. I was expecting more. I was expecting something to... Yeah.
Right, they're all cast. They're all fucked. They didn't say goodbye. I don't care if the fucking building's on fire and the fire's creeping close to you. You say fucking goodbye. I don't care if you haven't contacted anything. You say fucking goodbye. Like, no matter what you're doing with that board, you have to have a degree of superstition. And like I said, even if you haven't, like, per se, contacted anything or spoke to anything, you fucking say goodbye.
Yeah.
Like,
that's the number one rule, right?
Literally. And I would much rather burn to death in a building fire than be possessed by a demon or be dragged to hell, you know? Like...
Next one.
Yeah.
I got a Ouija board for Christmas when I was in 6th grade. Great present, huh? That night, I went over to my best friend's house, who was obsessed with all things paranormal, and I took my Ouija board with me. Went up to her room, set it on the floor, and asked, is there anyone in the room with us? The planchette didn't move. We kept on repeating, and was about to give up. And then the planchette moved and spelt out Ruth, which was my grandma's name. My grandma died that year. We threw the board back in the box and were totally freaked out. That's it.
Again, they didn't say goodbye. Secondly, they're just dyslexic and it actually spelled Ruth as in R-O-O-F. And they're just fucked up. But yeah, that was just shit. That one, that was fucking dreadful.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
Once, right after my ex had lost his friends in an aeroplane accident,
Oh, fun.
we took the Ouija board out to use it. What an awful way to go an aeroplane accident! Like, Christ. That's the scariest thing that's been said on this podcast.
What I didn't tell her is they all used it the night before they went on the plane.
Can you imagine? So, right after my ex had lost his friend in an aeroplane accident, we took the Ouija board out to use it. She was very desperate.
Oh. Nothing happened.
She
the
was
end.
She was very desperate and scared and alone and desperate for communication. Nothing happened with the planchette, but we began to feel this deep presence in the corner of the room. I closed my eyes to take a deep breath. Suddenly the pointer started moving rapidly around and going faster, just to spell out the words. It was terrifying. He kept on moving in a circle, again and again and again. It didn't spell anything. We both decided to say goodbye.
Smart.
I immediately felt exhausted, completely and utterly drained. We decided that it was just something crazy that happened, that we was both manifesting it, that our muscles were taking control. We put on something in the background and both eventually had a nap. I was asleep for about 30 minutes. I woke up, bolted out of bed. As I was at our house, your eyes take a second to adjust. and I saw this spirit or skeletal thing in the corner of the room. It rushed at my face and started screaming at me with this big gaunt mouth. I started screaming as well. My boyfriend woke up. I could still feel it, oppressive and aggressive, trying to get on me. My boyfriend couldn't see anything. He was keeping telling me to calm down as this thing walked out of the room. Please never use a Ouija board. It completely, I never got rid of it. I put it in my closet. Or that's what I think I did. It's completely vanished, and I have never found it since. I have no explanation as to why.
I mean, she was clearly just having a nightmare, let's be honest.
I mean, I feel like if you were having a nightmare, I mean, yeah, I guess it could be sleep paralysis, right? You can still see something, and if you're screaming and your boyfriend can't see anything, it's when your boyfriend goes, "Holy fuck, I can see it too."
Yeah.
That's when you start freaking out, you know.
I mean, I suppose, but I don't know. Again, it's a lot of like people just manifesting things for themselves as well, like their own imaginations. Like, have you ever heard of, like sometimes you can have a nightmare, and then you're like jolt awake, and for a short while after, you're still like in disarray, and you don't know whether you're awake or asleep, and you can still kind of like maybe see stuff. Yeah. Maybe it was just that. Maybe she had a nightmare. Yeah. She woke up screaming for her boyfriend, and it was just that lingering effect of holy shit, there's something in the room. Like,
well, it's so true, because how many times have you woke up and it's been dark, but you still see like a shadow in your room where like your jacket's hung up, or
or the guy on the landing.
I mean, that's very different.
Yeah, but yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Go into that?
What?
Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, we can go into that if you want. Just, basically, guys, I do believe that I can see things. Certain things, not all the time, but sometimes. And in the house that me and Sophie are currently living in, there is a ghost. And it resides like from the top of the stairs to the bottom of the stairs. So when I'm in bed, I can see our open doorway. We leave our door open because we've got cats and they like to sleep with us, and obviously they need to get downstairs to the litter trays and stuff. So we leave the doors open. I can always see the landing from where I'm sleeping, and on the landing on a night, watching me, is a silhouetted figure, a man that just stands there, just watching me. Just always watching. Like, I could be sat watching TV and I can catch him out of like my peripherals. He's always there, just watching. And like, the weird thing is, like, pets pick up on things like that as well. And there'll be times where, say, me and Sophie are just sat watching telly, and then me and both of our cats, our heads will just like spin to the side and look at either the top of the landing or the bottom of the stairs where this figure usually is. And like, me and the cats are just staring at it. And Sophie gets freaked out. She's like, what the fuck? Like, it is weird, because it is like, you've seen it before, haven't you? Like, I think I was on FaceTime with you before once.
Yeah.
Like, it is bizarre.
No, you was streaming.
Was I? Right.
Yeah, that was it. I haven't seen the figure.
No,
but I remember, like, you like looked and your cat, I think it was Echo, like, it was like laid down and like kind of like bolted up.
Yeah.
But I've said at your house multiple times and I haven't felt anything. But I guess if you're a skeptic, you're less in touch with all that stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's two different spirits. Because to me, I'm like, whenever I do see ghosts, I mainly see silhouettes. And like, the one at the bottom of the stairs is so unassuming, and like, I don't feel threatened by it. Whereas the one that I see at the top of the landing, when I'm in bed, I always feel on edge. And I always feel like if I close my eyes, if I go to sleep, this thing might attack me. Like, so I don't know if it's two different spirits. Like, maybe one died at the top of the stairs, maybe one died at the bottom. Like, I don't know. But it is horrible, to be honest. It's a horrible experience being able to see things.
Have you ever tried any experiments to
Communicate.
yeah, well, not necessarily communicate, but like get rid of it,
No. What's the point?
or like, do you know, like putting stuff on your landing to see if it, like, if you see footprints.
No, I mean, I haven't really thought about doing anything like that because I'd rather not disturb it,
Yeah.
Like, the way I look at it is the one at the top of the stairs, yes, I feel threatened by it, but it hasn't been malevolent towards me, like, as such, at this current time. And, like, we've been here for almost 3 years and it hasn't done anything. And I think it's again, like I was saying, the manifestation. If you start acknowledging it to the point where you're trying to, like, get rid of it or prevent being able to see it, then I feel like you're giving it more energy. If that makes sense.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So the second to last one then that I've got is called The Figure at the Window.
Lovely.
When I was around 12 to 14, one girl bought a Ouija board to my friend's birthday party. I was pretty skeptical, but also really curious about it, and I've never used one before. We took turns asking questions, and the planchette moved. I just figured somebody else was moving it. The other girls were pretty creeped out, but I wasn't, because, again, I felt one of them was moving it. So I decided to try and trick them. I asked them a question that nobody else knew apart from me. To this day, I can't explain how the answer appeared, or any of the other paranormal experiences that happened. We put the board away. I truly believe that we contacted something and it stuck around. There was just generally a lot of small things like footsteps above us, even though we was on the top floor. The door kept on swinging open on its own. And the girl said that before the Ouija board it never did anything like that. Now it could just be explainable. There's a large door near it, and there could be wind coming in and out. But it's interesting that it never happened before. The creepiest part was that a bunch of us randomly woke up about 4 or 5 in the morning, and a few girls saw a black figure walking down on the other side of the street outside the window. Apparently, one of the girls had seen what they thought was the same figure with his face at the window on the second story earlier that night. It's probably nothing, and it's probably just our mind playing tricks on us, what we associate Ouija boards with. But it's just weird how they answered my question, and the little weird things that have happened. I haven't touched a Ouija board since. And that's that.
With that one, I feel like, again, manifestation. Maybe those noises and the things you could hear were happening beforehand, but you weren't paying any attention to them. Whereas once you'd spoken to whatever using the Ouija board, you get paranoid, don't you? Because it's like I said, you're constantly thinking, demon, demon, demon. Like, you're gonna start hearing shit and paying more attention to the little things going on around you.
Yeah. And then this is the final one. Secrets of the Lay. When I was little, my mum took out a Ouija board and asked my brother if we'd like to play with it. It started out pretty funny. The glass thing, I forgot what it's called, was making words like poop. Did I mention we were young enough for that to be hilarious? But my mum said, let's get serious and try and contact someone. Here's when it gets weird. A friend of hers had recently gone missing. He'd been missing for a month or so and nobody knew where he was. When we asked who it was we were talking to, his name was spelled out. Let's just say it was George, since I genuinely don't remember. When we asked George if he was my mum's friend, he said yes. My mum got visibly upset and asked where he was. In a lake. It spelled out. It was extremely upsetting and we stopped immediately. My mum tried to be light-hearted about it to try not to scare us. So I thought it wasn't a big deal and that it was just a little game. Nothing different to Monopoly or something. It was played on a board. About 2 weeks later, the police got a text saying that the police told my mum that they'd found George's body. His body had fell into a river one night, and it was a really remote place, so nobody had found it for a while. It was only at that moment I realised that actually the Ouija board is very much a true and real thing. There you go.
Fair enough. I think what would be better about that, though, if it was an actual story and not like somebody's experience, if it turned out that the mum had actually killed George, and that's why she'd got like freaked out, because she was like, shit, how does it know where I put the body? But then that's just my dark mind.
Yeah. It's pretty fucked.
Mm. Yeah, was that the last one?
That is the last one.
Mm. Yeah, all in all, not too bad. I mean,
there's none that was like, I contacted the demon.
yeah. There was no real heavy hitters in there, were there?
No. We'll do a follow-up. We'll try and find some.
Yeah. I think it's good to ease in with that sort of stuff, and, you know, the less... I don't know. It's more believable if it's not like I contacted Zozo and he threw me across the room and burnt half my house down. Like, it's a bit more believable, I guess. You know what I mean? Because there is ones out there, aren't they? Where they're like, oh, a demon did this, this, and this. It's like, did they though? Did they though? No, they didn't.
Yeah.
You're looking for some clout. Where's the evidence? Oh, that was a good episode, I feel, and a good, like I said, nice introduction to Ouija boards as a topic for the Brainless Believers podcast. It would be nice, like you said, to follow up and, yeah, just, I don't know, branch off with different areas of Ouija boards. So look for, like, demon stories and things like that. I don't know, I like it. What are your thoughts?
100%. Yeah, I find stuff like this really interesting. I don't really find them believable. I find the stories interesting, you know.
Yeah. I feel like we could write better though.
100%. Yeah, probably. But you're a little bit sick.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, you could probably write stories that are, you know, gruesome tales.
Yeah. Well, maybe I should do that. If we actually start planning these a little bit further in advance and not on the day we're doing them, wait,
Yeah.
I might do that. So if we come up with a topic, I might write a short story for that topic and then read it at the end or whatever. I think that would be good. Or, now I've got an idea for when I do one. I might write a short story in line with my topic, but put it in the middle. Like in a random place in the middle of all these stories, and you've got to guess which one's mine. That'd be quite a good idea.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, I like that. But with that being said, guys, we are nearing our hour mark, which means it is the end of another episode. I can't believe it's been almost a year since the last one, and as we've said before, we will try to shorten the gap between the next one. I mean, to be fair, we might have a guest star in the next episode hosting for us. You may know him from the channel, Al, GNCX Creations. He may be joining us. He's already got some notes wrote for his ideas. So that'll be interesting. Take the podcast in a different direction for an episode. And who knows, he might become a recurring host. So plenty of things to look forward to, guys. And the thing is, like, it has almost been a year, but we're always talking about Brainless Believers, aren't we? Like,
Yeah.
We're always
We do like it. And also, we're going to be looking at trying to get them on Spotify as well, because you could upload things onto there fairly easily. So I'm going to try and get it on there as well.
Yeah. Which it'd be nice, it branches us out quite a lot. But, yeah. Anything else you want to add before we end?
No, not at all. Just let's see what happens.
Yeah. Right. Well, with that being said, guys, we do hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we hope you look forward to the next one. And with that being said, guys, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. And we will see all you guys in the next Brainless Believers. Bye-bye!